What's going on, guys? We are back yet again. We're going to be going over Daredevil Born Again episode 4. So, for those of you that have watched it, let me know your thoughts about it down in the comments. And for those that have yet to see the show, definitely give it a shot, especially for this episode, especially in the last 25 minutes, because I think a lot of us that enjoyed Daredevil the series and Punisher that was on Netflix, then you're definitely going to enjoy what happened in today's episode. But overall, this episode was, I would say, it has good and has bad, but again, it goes into Kingpin and goes into Matt Murdock. So going on to before the last part of the episode, where just a quick recap of what happened was Matt Murdock comes in, he learns about White Tiger's death, and he's obviously upset about it. Then we see White Tiger's niece show up. She wants to see her uncle. He's trying to tell her no, and they kind of have a heart to heart where she starts venting to him, blaming the bad cops that did this because obviously it was them. It was someone that did this to show a lesson, and there was no one going to do it because there was cops. And Matt had to console White Tiger's niece, and it was really kind of a good thing to see, especially on the opposite foot for what happened to Matt when he was a kid. So now he's seeing both sides of the coin, and then he also gets dumped this one case in his lap by his the firm that he's with or his partner, where he takes his case. The guy from every point went ahead and stole these boxes of cereal, and he's going to be going to jail for it for however long, but he's wanted probation. Matt does everything he can. He at least gets him 10 days in, and then he's out, and he says that's not enough because the system's messed with him his whole life, and the last time he was in, he couldn't get his SSI renewed, and he kept trying, and after learning all this, Matt's like feeling bad about it, so I guess he's going to try to do something else. Not exactly sure where this is going to go. I'm not exactly sure where this is trying to go, but then we go on to the other side of Fisk, where we see him and Vanessa in therapy, where they are trying to obviously still work out their issues. The affair gets brought up again, and again, we should know how Fist is going to be. We were thinking, okay, is he going to let it go? But then at the very end of the session, of course, Heather asks Vanessa, does she feel safe around Fist? Because of, we learned a little bit about her father, how her father, again, wasn't always around, all these other issues. So it kind of makes you wonder, is she going to want Fist to kind of go back to the way he was, but also just be a little bit more brutal, especially around her, because we did see that off and on, because he did not want her to see that side of him. But he has no problem doing that, even though he's still trying to control those inner dark feelings that he has of being, a crime boss, because that's how he is. But he goes through of trying to open up a dock area to try to make it better, and there's a big scandal that comes out by one of his employees. Again, this one dude that keeps showing, he keeps being friends with this one chick that is part of the BB network or whatever. It's like, dude, I don't see the relevance of this other than her just talking to people about everything from the vigilantes to Fist, all this stuff on the street. It's just rather annoying, and it's like, dude, I don't see the point of really the issue other than getting the people's opinion, rather than it's like, okay, we are, from the show's perspective, it's like, look, we're going to hear it one way or another, so we don't need someone interviewing to actually hear about that, so that's just my opinion. But he comes forward, tells Fist that it was him, he got drunk, he let stuff slip, and that's how it got loose. And he tells him, don't do it again, because otherwise it's going to be the last thing you're going to do, which we should all know what that means. Now, on the other foot of that, he's going to like a school to try to be there. He goes to another conference. He goes to like another singing area, and he just hates it because that's not what he wants to do. He just wants to try to change the city. But at the same time, he's dealing with a possible divorce. He's dealing with, the city hating him. He's trying to have a new image and also other things. But what's really interesting is at the very end of the episode is he goes to this underground area, and he has something to eat ready for him. He pours himself something to drink, but on the way he's walking in, you see that white wall, that classic white wall that he'd always stare at, that has blood on it, obviously from him taking out his father. And he had it up, so he still has that somewhere. And the one that Vanessa had an affair with is caught up in the cage, so obviously we know he's going to do something. So I think it was kind of wondering, are we going to be seeing the Kingpin get revenge? Or are we going to be seeing him actually be a man or take out revenge? Because everybody was wondering, is he going to, just let this slide? Is he going to be a cuck? Like, what's he going to do? It was like, I was hoping he was going to get revenge. I wanted to see that because even though he made a promise that it wasn't going to happen, that he wasn't going to do anything, he's still going to do it. And that is Kingpin style. And that is what I wanted to see. And I'm hoping we get to see what he's going to do to this guy. And on the other foot, Matt goes to the crime scene of White Tiger. We see where he finds the bullet casing after using his abilities. It has the Punisher logo on it, and guess who he goes and finds? Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, somewhere in a old, rundown building, I guess in his HQ, and I'm trying to remember when did it get revealed that he told Daredevil, or when he told Frank that he was Daredevil. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what season it was out. I think it was in 2, if I remember correctly. I want to say it was 2. But either way, they start having a conversation about, like, what you're doing here, and also that the cops are doing this. He calls them fanboys, so we all know that Frank's probably gonna go after the ones that are dirty and doing all this stuff, and he says it's got nothing to do with him. But at the same time, he brings up Bullseye, and they have a massive conversation. I'm not gonna go play by play here, but he goes into why he does what he does, because he hears his son's voice, he can't get it out of his head, and he's saying that is the reason why you're beating yourself up, because you hear your friend's voice. He says that he's talking to you and you won't let it go. And you almost see where Matt loses it, where he even apologizes to Frank, and Frank's like, for what? That he says that is the most real thing you've done here, Red. And he even tells him, and it was very close to that rooftop scene we saw on Daredevil, where they're going back and forth of what's right, what's wrong, what side of the line do you stop at, when do you stop? And he finally was like, Matt's trying to trust the system so much, but he also knows that's not the right justice that he wants or what he thinks Foggy deserves, which again, he doesn't. Foggy deserves more justice than this scumbag getting life in prison, which again, it may not hold him. And I think now he's starting to realize that, because after him and Frank have this conversation, he leaves, him and Heather have a night together, and then he goes up to the rooftop, and we see all the different cowls, as well as also, of course, new weapons that he starts training, and that's how it ends for Matt. Now, again, I think this episode was okay, but at the same time, we got to see John Berthal return as the Punisher, which was amazing. I think, again, this man was born to play Punisher. Same thing with Charlie Cox. Just the dynamic duo between these guys. They really showed not only just how good actors they are, but also that they were born to play these roles, that they were meant to play these roles, and that it gave off the same energy as they did in that classic rooftop scene, which is honestly one of my favorite scenes in cinema, because one of my favorite lines is the whole thing, like, you get them and how do you say it? You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. Like, I love that line so much, because again, it shows that Frank is willing to go the extra mile to get stuff done, and then Daredevil has a line that he won't cross. And it kind of goes where, as he told him, that he says, you didn't come here for this, you came here for my permission. Like, I think that's what he was wanting, was that, is it okay to go that extra line, to cross that line, when Frank's done it, and it's like, okay, if I cross that line, where is that going to lead me? And again, in the comics, we know that Daredevil's killed accidentally, or he has in rage, or he's come close. Don't quote me on that though, but again, I think that's what he was kind of wanting, but at the same time, he was getting that part of him out, and I think that's what Frank was trying to do, is he was trying to tell him it's okay to let that part of you out. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be pissed off. It's okay to want revenge. And it's okay to want justice, even though there's a difference between justice and then court justice and street justice. There's different kinds of justice, and I think that's what he was trying to tell him. And it kind of makes me wonder what happened to Punisher. Like, what part of the story is this from the last time we saw him? Because really, the last time we saw him was at the end of season 2 in Punisher. So what happened between that time frame to this, and all this other kind of stuff? So I'm actually kind of wondering how they're going to do that. Like, are they going to bring up the events of season 2 of Punisher, or are they going to bring up anything else? Because he said that he went down the range, and he says, look where that got me. And maybe he took down some more scumbags. Maybe he took down all the ones that had to deal with, because he took down all the ones that we know of that killed his family. So we don't know exactly all that happened to him after that. But I'm ready for more. Is this the best? No, but at least Disney has given us something with three great actors between Charlie Cox as Daredevil, John Bertha as Punisher, and then Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. I'm still going to be trying to support this show. It may not be getting a lot of love. I think it deserves a lot better, especially with all the issues they had during behind the scenes with filming, with trying to make the fans happy from the Daredevil series and the Punisher series. But they need to continue on this train and just improve. But what do you guys think about this episode? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you as always on the next one.